I can, we can wait. Alright. Yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and get going so I give these guys more time. If you're in the Build It track, you're in the right place. Who's familiar with Security University and be interested in a few free classes? So I got some tokens here. Oh, that was rough. That went like a frisbee. I apologize. I also got a few handouts. Here's some can holders. See how far they go. There you go. So just if you're aware, if you've lost anything, we do have a lost and found up in registration. You have to be able to identify the item, of course. Up next, we have httpscreenshot with Steve Breen and Justin Kennedy. Justin currently leads an offensive security team and spends his downtime participating in buy bounties. Steve is a senior security consultant on the offensive security team and spends his downtime on research projects and development. All right, take it away, guys.
Cool. Thanks, guys. So make sure everybody can hear me pretty well. Yeah? Thumbs up in the back. Fantastic. All right, so the name of our talk here is httpscreenshot, a tool for both teams. Make sure I've got some flicking going on over here. All right, so what we're going to go over today, here's this quick outline, who we are, what the problem is that we are trying to solve, our solution that we've built internally. We're going to do a demo, hopefully, right? We've got Wi-Fi here and it's actually pretty good, so I'm surprised and impressed. So we'll go through the demo. If the demo doesn't work live, I do have it recorded, just in case. Thank you. Yeah, that was late last night. We're like, oh shit, what happens? Then we're going to walk through kind of how we've used this tool in the many different ways. And then if we have some time, which I think we should, we'll be able to go through some questions and answers and hopefully get some suggestions from you guys on where you'd like to see this tool go and if you have any use cases for it. So.
Oh, okay, I'll step out.
Yeah, just step out so you can click.
So I'm Steve Breen, senior penetration tester on Justin's team. I've been doing this for a few years with him, and we have a pretty good dynamic that works well in most engagements. I'm a former enterprise developer, so I used to do a lot of clunky Java web app development, and lately I've been more putting together hacky scripts like this one for penetration testing purposes. I do a lot of vulnerability and exploit development in my spare time after hours. Release some stuff on GitHub and some stuff on my blog, which you can see here.
We're going to switch back and forth a couple times and hopefully it works out. Yeah, does it work? Test it?
No, it works.
All right, cool. All right, so who I am Justin Kennedy. I have been kind of a lifelong security person. Security has always been in my blood. I've been active in the community for about 15 years or so, early 2000s, maybe late 90s, not really too sure. I've always just been a mischievous person, so it came naturally to me to, and into computers, so it came naturally to me to get into this field. My career path a little bit to show you that I have been on both sides, which is why I think it's important that we're releasing this tool and kind of saying both sides can use it. I did start out as just kind of an intern in high school. I moved over to being a computer technician after that intern that turned into a full-time position, which I was very lucky about. I moved into help desk in Boston, which I'm actually from. From help desk in corporate, I moved over into the security operations center at VeriSign. And I was there through the SecureWorks acquisition, and then I left shortly after the Dell SecureWorks acquisition. From there, I moved out of the SOC into more of a network security role, managing checkpoint firewalls and whatnot. So that's kind of my, been on that side of the team. I then joined where I'm currently at now, which is NTT Com Security. As a junior penetration tester roughly 5 years ago or so, and just kind of worked my way up from a junior to a senior, from a senior to a principal, what I am now. And then, now I lead the OffSec team, which, Steve is a part of. There you go. You're good, you're good. So I am absolutely terrible at anything UI related. I can't make anything look pretty. These slides are what you're going to get. They're black and white. They have lots of words on them, but they will fade in and out, so hopefully nobody sees a slide and gets overwhelmed at once. So if you're here to see pretty slides, I apologize, which I don't think most of you are. If you are here to see an awesome tool that we're releasing today, open source, then you're in the right place. And this is my Twitter, as well as my IRC. So this is the same person. Don't confuse them. They're not two different people. Someone specifically, I don't see them. That's all right. So before we get started, show of hands, who here is on the blue team or defense side of the house? Awesome, great. And then who here is on the red team side of the house?
Good mix.
That's a good mix. That's fantastic. Who does both? That's a great question. Awesome. That's great. Hopefully you're able to use this, or I know you definitely will be able to. So a quick blue team challenge. Everybody kind of clear your minds real quick, and we're going to start out with a question. Who here knows every single thing, every device, every application on your internal network? Wow, you are an honest bunch. That is yeah, exactly. So for those of you, pretty much everyone in this room then, why not?
I'm not naive. Because we like to sleep.
Good point.
That's a good answer.
I hope that we can have you sleeping easier at night, or after you run this, maybe not as easy at night. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those challenge reasons, and those were two that were good. The first one, who here has gone into an environment, started a new job, and you have no idea what's on there, obviously because you just started, and there's really not any documentation around what's already there? Yeah, it's like you're going to manage the network, or you're going to manage these servers, or you're going to do whatever. And you're like, great, where are they? Well, we've got these ones over here that we use primarily all the time, but those are the only ones we really remember. So unless you're actively going and doing some sort of discovery on your internal network, you probably don't know what's there. Second one. This usually happens in larger environments, corporate environments, or even new environments where it's you're a software development company and the power users get to do whatever they want. So you either work in the server team, you work in the network team, and you have business units that go and spin up software, spin up applications without telling you, right? And just like, okay, well, we have a process for that, or hopefully we have a process for that. So they spin up these applications that they're buggy, they're terrible, you have no idea what they are, and they don't tell you. Yeah, no, never. That never happens. We're done. No, that doesn't happen. Or for those of us that have been at a job for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and when you got there, you were installing these servers, you were installing these machines, you were running these applications, but then you weren't. You weren't managing it anymore. You moved teams. You're on a different team now, which I hope so, usually after 30 years or so. And you forget about it, I always make fun of this because it gets kind of overused, I think, but it's absolutely true. The old NT4 box in the closet that is dusty as hell, it's got a sticky note on it that says don't touch. It'll break. Everything will break. Everything will catch on fire. So you don't touch it, you leave it there. You have no idea what the IP address of it is. You just have no idea. And the last one, somebody just plugs some shit into your network. Why not? You never see that, no. And NAC is supposed to solve that if you have NAC. Which,
on all your VLANs?
on everything, yeah. So, you know, you get some guy who comes in and goes, you know what, I just bought this new home router, or I just bought this NAS, this wireless NAS, whatever it is, and he just plugs it in, or she just plugs it in. Doesn't tell you, it's under the desk, or, you know.
Hey, this happens to work when I plug it into the jack that my phone was in.
Yeah, right. If I just plug it in, I can connect my wireless to it, my phone and my laptop. So these are some of the challenges that we face on the blue team, or that you face on the blue team. I used to face on the blue team. And that's why we don't know what is on our networks. Now, where I'm at, moving over to the red team. And I will say red team, not necessarily as red teaming assessments, but that too. I also mean penetration testing, but I'm really using the term as just the offensive side. So, on the red team challenges, we are hired to go in and compromise an organization that we know nothing about because we don't work there. Makes sense, right? So they hire us, we do our recon, and then we're expected to, you know, go and know everything on their network, or we're supposed to know how to get into their network, you know, on short time limits most of the time. They're hiring us because they want to know what their attack surface looks like. So we have to go in and we have to, you know, find out all of the servers they have, all of the applications they have, all of the devices that they have, just what their attack surface is, what their risk is. And that's hard to do if you don't have a good idea of what is on the network. Everybody here familiar with MassScan? My favorite tool, just about. I only saw one hand. Do the rest of you really not know? Okay, all right, fantastic. So a couple of you do. Those of you that do not, even on the blue team, this is an incredible tool and you should be using it because it will save you a lot of time. For anybody who has used this, have you ever scanned a Class 8 or a Class A for a single port or a couple ports? How long does that take? How much? Okay, so we run this pretty much every internal we have against a /8 if they have it, honestly. For a single port across this, it takes about 2 minutes. It is incredible. If you asked me probably 10 years ago if I could scan a Class A, I'd say no. Oh yeah, I could, if you're gonna pay me, you know, to sit here for a couple of weeks. And the last one here, again, coming back to time. We don't always have as much time as we would like on an assessment. We're coming in, we're getting paid, you're here for 40 hours, 80 hours. If you're on a red team assessment and they actually let you do a longer test, great. But most of us don't have that luxury, or for every project we don't have that luxury. So we're going in for that 40 to 80 hours, and that is not enough time in a lot of these larger networks.
You're lucky.
Some of us have 1 day or 2 days, maybe.
24 to 30 hours.
Is that three working days, or just 24 hours? You're starting at noon and you're finishing at noon tomorrow.
3 working days.
Okay. Usually on those, if it's that much and the network's big enough, I usually just end up going at it for whole day, 12 hours. But that's because it's fun.
I'd love to have 80 hours.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? So a little disclaimer here. This is just some things that you may have seen on the red team, you may have seen in your defense that are sitting on your network. So don't be alarmed. Everybody familiar with JBoss? This one looks pretty old. Actually, all of these screenshots that we're pulling right now were from an assessment we did last week. Actually, what day is it? This week.
Something like that.
Yeah, this week. So.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult sometimes with these to change the password on the admin console. It's like 3 config files or something, but people just neglect to do it.
Yeah. Everybody know what this is? Yeah, okay, somebody knows what that is. What'd you say? Sorry. Root Calvin, default cred. You log into this guy, it's hooked up to vCenter or something. You shut the whole thing down, reboot it from removable media.
Even better when it's hooked up to Red Hat and you can boot into the recovery console.
Into single user mode. That's fine, if you can take down the box.
I mean,
yeah. All right, next one. These are extremely useful, and you find these when you're scanning for HTTP all the time. There's tons of shit in here that people just use it as a scratch pad, really. It's a web server. Hey, transfer that file over to me. Okay, throw it up in your web directory. We find creds in here. This can be an initial foothold for an attacker because we get this, we start walking through, you just start going through some of the XML files and you will find wonders. Anybody see anything funny about, and remember I said this was from this week. Anybody see anything funny here? IE4 Netscape Navigator? What the hell's that? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so that looks old as hell. I have no idea what it does. We didn't break into it. Last one here. Anybody see anything funny in this one? We see these all the time, network cameras that have no authentication. If you're doing a red team assessment or you're doing a penetration test where you're able to use application network physical attack vectors, I'm sitting in the wireless in the parking lot or something. If I can get onto your wireless network and then do a scan and find your network cameras, I can follow your guards around. Maybe, right? Anybody see the funny thing here? I have no idea where this is at either. I know the client it does have this, yes, I just don't know what it does. So. All right, so we're going to have Breen talk about our solution here.
So Justin talked a little bit about the problem. We have these huge networks and we have no idea what's on them. Our idea here was to kind of try to help people out, try to figure out what's on your networks. Every device, most services, pretty much everything nowadays has a web interface. So that's kind of a good place to start.
You're going to have to go over the VM and
yeah. So the goal with, there are two tools in this, this package, I guess. There's one called httpscreenshot, and there's the second part called cluster. We'll go through the first part first. Screenshot is just a Python script to screenshot thousands of websites really, really quickly. And another key here is reliably. We want to miss as few things as possible because everything you miss could be something that's vulnerable. Or if you're missing a particular page, you might be missing an entire class of them for whatever reason. So we've done a little work to try to cut down on things that this just glosses over or misses due to bugs. Although it's obviously still not perfect. And then the cluster script, and this is what's really different from other tools and other things that are out there. This tries to do some fuzzy matching and group HTML pages together based on just some similarity score that we calculate. So what that does is every instance of JBoss admin console on your network, you see it immediately just in one big row. Every iDRAC, it's just boom right there, and you can go through them, see where they're at. You'll see like, oh wow, that IP address wasn't supposed to be putting that up. Those sort of things. So it helps you go through just huge numbers of HTML services really, really fast, and we use it all the time.
So one thing there is, you're scanning the network and you come across that old NT4 box or that old application, and you're like, okay, that's not good. I need to bring this down. I wonder if there are any more things out there like this. That is where cluster comes into effect, where it's like, okay, here it is, and here are the rest of them right here, easily accessible, which is really, really nice.
Especially we've seen, broken like old web apps like that NT4 one for sure. You find, oh no, this has SQLi in it. Where else has this been deployed? Half the time, you don't even know. So. So I'm just going to go over the screenshot script and talk a little bit about it, some of its features, why it's a little different. So the goal was to be fast, thorough, and automagic. People shouldn't need to, configure a million parameters. There's still quite a few, but it should just kind of work without too much tweaking. And the thoroughness was really key. I really hate missing stuff. So. One of the challenges here is this is a tool that was developed over a course of a number of assessments. So one good thing about that is it's really useful and practical. One of the bad things is it was all thrown together. So the code's a bit of a mess, but it works. So some of the features that I find useful that a lot of other tools similar didn't have, or maybe they did have, but they didn't have them all, and that's why I built this. its input for this tool is output from mass scan and nmap. So you can just do a mass scan or an nmap scan and boom, use that as your input. You feed it into the tool. Another key thing was it parses and executes JavaScript. So the way it actually goes and grabs these screenshots, it uses Selenium WebDriver, and it uses, you can use Phantom.js for headless mode if you're running it on a server, or you can actually have it spin up, a million Firefox windows on your screen and visit all these pages if Phantom.js isn't doing it for you. SSL auto detection was huge. It's super helpful. Sometimes you just don't know if a port is SSL or not. It'll try both. This feature isn't implemented in the fastest or best way, but it does work pretty well. This one was kind of interesting. SSL certificate domain scraping for vhosts. So a lot of the times what we see when we're on a network is you'll hit a website at an IP address. You'll just try http:// or https:// IP address, and the vhost, it just won't give it back because you didn't specify a valid vhost on that host. So we'll grab the SSL cert, scrape out all the host names from it, and add those to the list of things to screenshot. One thing we could do here that I want to add soon is do reverse PTR lookups for non-SSL SSL sites. Like I mentioned, it's headless, so we run this on a server that doesn't have, we don't log into it with a graphical session. Threaded, we usually run it with 50 threads, so it just blasts through a ton of websites really fast. And another thing was Phantom.js. It's not the best browser in the world, so sometimes it fails because its default is SSL v3, so it'll kind of try both just to try to not fail on your websites to verify that.
We found we found this bug the other night where we were scanning just large amounts of ranges. And it was failing, it was blowing up, because you'll see it here in a few minutes. It was just blowing up in the CLI, and Breen, being the perfectionist that he is, with the exception of the code, is, he was like, why is it missing all of these things? These are all things that we should be attacking. These are all things that we should know about. So, he researched the bug and saw that it was failing on, what was it, TLS, or no, SSL v3.
Requiring TLS, and Phantom.js was only saying, hey, I support SSL3, and some sites are just like, nope, not going to serve it to you. Right,
so now it just goes with TLS first and then falls back into the SSL v3.
Yeah.
Associated with the recent.
It might be. It could be. I think we were scanning. Was it eBay's range for the bug bounty? We were scanning someone who probably had dealt with that, and that's how they chose to address it, which is fine. So we'll talk a little bit about cluster, what it does. So this is the script. So this is a separate script. httpscreenshot goes through, grabs a bunch of PNG and HTML files, just dumps them out in a directory. Cluster goes through all the HTML files, and it tries to find similar websites and put them together in a pretty, it's really not that advanced how it works, but it seems to work fairly well. And I'll talk about that. The other thing it does, so for the output, it displays the resulting groups of websites in a useful way. So the output is an HTML file, and it uses some JavaScript hover zoom. So you can just put your mouse over something, it blows up, and you can see exactly what it was. The actual clustering algorithm it uses, for those who care, it reduces to a clustering algorithm called dbScan. A lot of clustering algorithms require a parameter called k, so you tell it, hey, I want 100 clusters, go put these things into 100 groups. But with our problem, we don't know how many clusters we want until after, we want the algorithm to tell us that. So that narrows it down to less clustering algorithms you can work with. There are a few other options. I chose this one because it was easy. It seems to work pretty well. It uses HTML tag and attribute values to compute a similarity score for two sites. So it'll look at two HTML pages, and it'll compute a number like 0.4, 0.5, based on how similar those are, and then it'll start doing the clustering and grouping based on that.
So one thing we noticed here was when when we first looked into this, we looked into doing the image matching and image comparisons and seeing what would work there. But one reason that didn't work very well is you get a lot of times sites that are branded. It's the same backend, it's the same application, it's just branded differently.
Yeah.
And that would throw off the results. So
not only that, but doing any kind of machine learning clustering algorithms on images is a lot slower than scanning a plain text file. Yeah, so it just uses, like, right now it only uses these 7 tags and things that come out of the HTML file. It could be useful to add more, but if you add too many, you might get false positives. This is what we use now. So just like href target strips out the domain, compares those. Anything with like the name attribute of fields, src, ID, class, title, and h1. The script also, this is something we don't do a lot, but that blue teams might find useful. It supports diff reports, so if you scan this month and then you scan again next month, it'll show you with the clustered output still anything new that's been added, anything that's been changed since the last time based on IP address, and anything that's been removed since the last scan. I didn't have that up.
All right.
Demo time.
Demo time. Let's do it. All right, so let's move this over here, move that out of the way. Got tank, that's good. Let me make that text bigger for you guys.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do that. Oh. Let's see here. Feel free to yell out any questions if you have them while I'm doing this.
Yeah, I can take questions while Justin's screwing around with his computer.
Let's see.
No, we don't do anything with that at all. It's pretty basic right now. Oh, yeah, so he asked if we do anything with load balancing detection right now, and the answer is no, we don't deal with that right at the moment. No, it's all coming from one IP address right now.
Yeah, so we're going to use tank here, which is a beefy box that I have that has a ridiculous connection. Can everybody see that okay? Actually, one sec.
This script actually would be pretty easy to create like a core thing and then have it just distribute the list across a number of nodes, but we just don't have that many VMs and IP addresses to do that, so we haven't developed it. But
yeah, definitely an interesting idea, and would be extremely useful and faster. So everybody can see this okay, or do I need to make it bigger? Bigger? All right, let's do bigger.
So what about balancing for all scan results?
Well, it depends. So the way we do it is we run multiple times. Usually we do a single run with a lot of threads, and then we do a secondary run. One of the things that I don't think Steve mentioned was when it goes and actually saves all the results, it saves the HTML files, the PNG files, and whatnot. It won't, if you run another scan from the same directory, it's going to check every single one of those, see if the PNG exists first, and if it does, there's no reason to run that again. So with a load balancer, what you could do is run it several times and see if you're hitting different pages, I guess, or, I mean, the clustering should put those together anyway, if that helps answer the question. All right, let's see here. Let's go 36, Jesus. That's huge.
big,
That's pretty big. 28. Good
that's
Lord.
pretty big. That should work.
Jeez. All right, how's that? Is that better? I can bold it if terminus bolds or use. It's good? All right, cool. Sorry for anybody that has bad eyes. We can.
We'll read the text.
Like debate team. Yeah. All right, so you know what? I can't see that as well, but I'll have to go based on muscle memory. So this is tank. This is where we're going to be running a scan from. The scan that we're going to be running against the network is going to be eBay, I think, because they have a bug bounty, and I feel comfortable scanning them for that reason. It is just mass scan and web, so I mean, but with all of these new things that are happening right now, I mean.
YOLO.
So So here's the network we're going to be scanning. What is it? Is that /19? All right, cool. That'll work. So I actually have a small script, just a shell script that I use to make my life easier, and will probably make your lives easier too if you're lazy. So I just call it mass HTTP, and what it does is runs HTTP screen. I'll explain these options actually real quick. So we're running mass scan first. Thank you, Rob, for port 80 and 443. Mass scan uses the Nmap flags pretty much, so it's pretty intuitive if you've been using Nmap for a long time. I'll have these on a slide as well, and we're going to be releasing the slides, so if you don't feel like writing this really fast, don't worry. So, like I said, it supports the Nmap syntax, so we're going to use networks, which is the what I just catted up there. We're going to put it into greppable format because that's what it's using for the parsing. We're just going to name it HTTP, GMAP. We're going to use rate 100,000. That should be fine. eBay has been fine so far, and I haven't melted anything yet. So that's good. It'll then make a HTTP screenshot directory, cd into the directory, and then go down and start running the HTTP screenshot stuff. I like to create a directory for it because you will have a lot of output if there are a lot of applications or network devices or whatever. And I tend not to want to have a lot of shit in one directory because that's where I keep my notes.
We also screenshot standard web ports all the time. That's actually where you find some of the best stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And HTTP screenshot will auto detect services as well, so you can just screenshot all 65535 port or scan all 65535 ports, and then just tell HTTP screenshot hey, here's the output. Go try this, and it'll be a little slower, but it'll still work.
Awesome because there are more fun things on non-standard web ports. Generally, if somebody's putting something on a different port, they don't want you to see it. Or it's things like Mongo or Hadoop or something like that. So then we're going to run, it's written in Python, so we're going to run HTTP screenshot with the I input field. That's where we're going to point it at our GNMap file. The P is for headless. The T is at 30, I think. I can't even see it. That's going to be your timeout. That's probably pretty long. I would not usually do 30. I actually don't even use the timeout. I forget what it defaults to. So do you know what it is?
It defaults to 30, I think, but.
Okay, so that's useless. Then we're gonna. I'm actually going to do 100 threads here for the demo because it is going to be twice as fast potentially as 50, right? Math. A is going to do that auto SSL detection. So I think one thing that Steve didn't mention is that if you're running Nmap without SV or A or doing version detection, if you're doing it without version detection, that's where this is useful. If you're doing it with version detection, then it'll read it from right there. And if Nmap said this is SSL, then it will know it's SSL. Mass scan, I think by default doesn't do version. Yeah, I think it does. There's a lot of that I haven't looked into with it. It's worked out so far. VH, that's going to be your vhost, so that's when it's going to go in and actually parse the SSL certificates. When it does that, it's going to look at both the SSL certificate name as well as the alternative tags or the alternative domains or whatever there. So it may pull more than one. What's that? Alt names. That's the one. And then R retry one, so anything it fails on, it'll try one more time. We're going to run it a second time. That's the cleanup I'm talking about with 10 threads. That's not going to take longer because, like I said, it is going to see if this PNG already exists. Don't go again. This is just for cleanup if we miss anything. It'll CD back to, and then it will use cluster. Cluster there just takes a single. It's actually got a couple different options. You can specify the thumbnail size. The resolution of the thumbnail size, but the D will just do the directory that all of your HTML files are in and cluster them together. It'll create a file called clusters.html in your current working directory, and all should be well. So let's do this. If this is going to probably take 6 minutes to run, so 6 to 8 minutes to run. There's your mass scan. Jesus, that's fast. That it just found 2,500 ports open on 80 and 443 across that /19, so that's how fast mass HTTP is. This is HTTP screenshot running through and actually parsing that output and reaching out to each one of those pages. 100 threads, it should be pretty fast. You can see some of the blow-ups here. not nearly as many as a couple nights ago before Steve fixed that bug.
Yeah, and some of those errors are actually legit. Like if you go try to hit that in a browser, it just doesn't work. Actually, most of them are from what I've looked at, but there could still be some issues. Wow, that's actually going quite fast. Nice. Yeah.
Did you choose to use kernel-level threads to do this, or are you using the threading?
It's Python threads, so I don't think they're even real threads. But it's still pretty quick.
I didn't know if you were using user-level threads, because if they are, then you're limited to the single process or in the single process.
Can you repeat the question?
He asked about if we use kernel-level threads or user-level threads, and we actually use Python threads, which I think are even worse than user-level threads. So yeah, it's pretty quick. There's like a ton of room for improvement in this whole thing, and that would be another area. If you find it slow, maybe improving the threading might be one way to go.
One of the big things about releasing this to everybody, you know, we've had this tool developed over the past probably 2 years or so, over just engagements, tweaks, and, you know, hey Steve, I think this might be a good idea, and him implementing it. We're really interested to see what could be done better. We are very much open to feedback, and we are releasing it on GitHub. It's actually on there now. So if you guys want to download it, play with it, you know, make suggestions, do pull requests, whatever those are. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm more than happy to have that be done.
I think it might be done. These ones are just the ones that time out, I think.
Yeah, I'll kill it and wait a second here.
Is it just under GitHub as httpscreenshot?
No, it's on Brain Machine's GitHub. We'll have a link at the end. All right, so what I'm going to do is I didn't let it run that second time. I probably won't. It's got enough there. So I'm just going to move over to the clustering portion of it. So tools, cluster, I don't know what that said, so don't look. Tab complete. I think it was just the ntds.dit extraction stuff. And then your directory. All right, so now it's going to go through. If there's a faster way to do this portion, that would be fantastic, because this is going to take a couple minutes. So if you guys, you know, end up looking at the code and think there's a better way to do it, that'd be awesome. So, any questions so far? Any more?
That's actually a whole nother thing we're building. It's pretty cool. It does like. So we were starting to build a framework that it has a database of default creds for different things, and it goes and try to log in. And then there's another module for the same tool that it detects login forms on HTTP pages, and it can like go and try a list of creds you give it. But we don't use it a lot because we're kind of worried about locking things out and all that. But it might be useful for some people.
Yeah, so that'll be something that if we do end up putting more time into, you know, Steve built the framework. I spent a lot of time going through, and we didn't think it would be worth releasing to everybody until we had a good amount of modules. Just like Metasploit came from, you know, just 25 modules or so back in the day when it came out. I do think it's something that if we released it, and you know, it is very easy to create the modules. They're just XML files. That does something like, I don't remember, it's been 8 months since I've touched one of them, but it just takes the URI, sees if it's available, see if you can match certain text on it, and then tries to look for the forms, and then tries the default credentials or whatever, and knows what the response looks like. It's very, very, very easy to do, and it's something where I think if we released it, and that the community went and built tons and tons of modules for it, it would be sick. It would be an absolutely insane tool. So yeah, maybe next year, maybe next ShmooCon. Man, this is the waiting part.
You have the results already, don't you, somewhere?
I do have the results already. Yeah, I'll pull up the results already.
You can just come back to this and show
We came prepared.
You timed it.
All right, so pull up in Firefox, and I will go to. Let's hope I don't fuck up typing. Tank. That says tank. All right, cool. HTTP screenshot exploration. No typos so far, hopefully. ShmooCon clusters.html. Ah, damn it. I must have mistyped something. Hold on. You know what? I can actually move that over to my browser window. That's easier than me moving. Oh, yeah, you're right. I asked for typos. Come on, guys. All right. Yeah, there we go. Yay. all right, so this is what it looks like. I'll make it a little bit bigger.
It's a little slow because we're loading it over the internet.
Yeah, so but you don't want it too big because it will pop up when we highlight it. It does like a hover zoom thing without actually using hover zoom, the Chrome extension. The reason we did that is because we had hover zoom installed, and then with the pop-up, it was ugly. So anyway, so this is what it does. It goes through, screenshots it. This is ugly as hell. Mubik said to use Bootstrap to make it pretty, so we're going to look into doing that. But like I said, we're not very good design people, so we're more functional people. Not that design people can't be functional, but that's a different story. So this is what it does. It goes out, takes the screenshots, and then you can see here, this is going to be clustered, right, across multiple. That's going to go a little, network here is fast, wow. So you can see here, these are the 3 IP addresses that this specific application is running on. So one of the big things about this and about saving time on a pen test is if I run this across a class A or any amount of IP addresses, I want to be able to quickly see what's the fastest way to digest information? It's usually visually, right? You're not going to read an entire Nmap output against a class A. It's going to take forever. It sucks. So visually, what you can do is scroll through here and just say, okay, what looks interesting? This is harder to do from this side.
Another thing, though, is it does output the HTML, and a lot of the time we'll grep that for things that are interesting, like ILO or whatever.
That's a good point. So it saves the HTML files. So I don't know if you guys heard Steve, but you can do things like just go into the directory and then grep for something like Jenkins, ILO, Drac, and it makes it really fast to be able to say, oh, there we go. So that's good. So this is what the output looks like. And we do have something fun for some of you, if we find it. I don't think that's it, but maybe. Nope, that's not the one. All right. Is that Tomcat? No, I can't see from the side. That's actually the hardest part about this. That's not it. It's a dark-looking page. Forbidden. So, one of the things it does is because it does match on those HTML, the attributes. If you get a page back that doesn't have any HTML, it'll usually cluster those together. These are an example of it, but so you'll see sometimes that maybe this whole entire row is not necessarily the same, but that's because it didn't have any HTML to go off of. That might be something that we think about something to fix. So there you go. There's a bunch of Tomcat there. We're actually looking for something pretty specific right now, though. Anybody here ever do the eBay bug bounties? Let's see how fast, let's see who the fastest person is. Come on, where are you? I have it bookmarked if I can't find it in the list here. I know, this is the interesting part. What's that? I don't know. Oh, there it is. There it is. So one thing that we're going to do, Tyler's suggestion, is we actually don't put the link here just yet. I'm going to get away from the IP address for a second. So we don't just yet do the links. We did that on purpose. We didn't want to accidentally click something while we were looking through the results. If we're trying to be more stealthy after mass scanning, and hitting
I wouldn't call it stealthy.
After. I guess we just didn't want to load the pages on accident for some reason. What was the reason? Do you remember?
I mean, I used to have it so you could click on it, and you didn't like it, so.
There we go. I wear the pants in this family. Just kidding. I love you. So, all right. So this guy's pretty funny. We found this the other night when we were dicking around. I got that copied correctly, hopefully. So pasted. I would have moved back over. It's so much easier that way. Let's see. Oh, that should work. So we found this page. I don't know what the hell it was, but it looks fun, right? So, PayPal Playground, because, eBay and PayPal are the same. So PayPal doesn't pay they do have a bug bounty, but they don't think they pay, or it's vice versa. I forget which one pays. But anyway. So this was funny. We came here and we're like, oh, these things are interesting. What are you pointing at? The credentials. Oh
no.
What does that say? Universal credentials. That's interesting. So anybody know what OpenCard is? Probably vulnerable. No, it's definitely vulnerable. I don't know if these credentials work. So that's not for me to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
But maybe. Anyway, so that's the demo. So that's the tool. I'm going to stop there. I don't know if you guys got the IP address, but if somebody wants to report that to, what is it, eBay or PayPal, go for it. That'd be nice of you. So that's the demo. We do have some more some more talking to do, but that was it. If anybody has any questions on that, no.
Oh, good.
I think I see 5 minutes. Wow, nice work. All right, cool. Oh, thanks, guys. All right, so how we've used it, I think. Do you want to go through this?
I'll go through one of them or two.
All right, you go through I'll go through this one. You go through the next one.
All right, sure.
All right, cool. Oh, you guys are leaving already? All right, I'm just kidding. So first story about how we use this that was really awesome. We were doing an external penetration test. We had network and applications that we were allowed to attack. We do our general stuff, our recon. We go through and do a vulnerability assessment, and then we look at the results of that. We run httpscreenshot, and there's this custom application, red vulnerable, because most custom apps are vulnerable, probably. Anyway, so we find SQL injection in this guy, and we're like, well, that's easy. Usually we find it was MS SQL, and when we find MS SQL, we're usually pretty easily able to own it. Runs the system. You have a pivot in the network. You do all this other stuff, and you eventually get domain admin and turn off the lights with HVAC stuff. Anyway, so we find this SQL injection in this application. Find that it's running MS SQL, but it's not running as SA. It's not running with a privileged account, and we're like, well, damn it, that's all right, whatever.
No more XP command shell, all that stuff's blocked.
Well, it wasn't configured to allow XP command shell. And generally, when we have SA and privilege, we just re-enable it, run our commands, PowerShell, web delivery through Metasploit, booyah. So that works usually pretty well. So we're like banging our heads against this damn thing. We've got cool data, but who wants just cool data? You want like internal access, especially when you're doing external. So after, I think like an hour or so being like, let's get privileges, let's privilege escalate, couldn't privilege escalate, all right, this thing sucks. We're like, all right, well, we need to start somewhere else. We got the foothold, that's cool, but we really, we always just want to break in and roll the network. So we go back into httpscreenshot to see what else is there, right? So we neglected to look at the other servers because this does clustering, thank God. There was another server sitting there, and it was in a different environment.
Running the same application.
Running the same application, vulnerable SQLi. This one was running with SA. We were able to reconfigure and enable XP command shell, get code execution, and then pop the internal domain. So that was really nice that, the clustering portion of the tool allowed us to do that.
I'll just quickly run through one more. So I don't know if anyone else knows what SuperGoose is, but I had never seen it before. SuperGoose 2, apparently. It's some network monitoring, network configuration device. Oh, do I?
You have 2 slides after.
So that's what it is, if no one's, I've never seen it. So we found this thing, and it didn't even ask for credentials. It was just boom.
This was external.
Yeah, external from the internet. So we just see this, and we're like, what is this thing? So I started poking around in the interface, and you can export config to XML. And the XML had a thing with a username and password that looked a lot like domain credentials.
Well, it's corp / and you're like, thanks.
Yeah, so the same place happened to have 3389 terminal services exposed to the internet somewhere, and we tried it, and boom, domain admin.
Yeah, seriously. That easy. And the funny thing about that was terminal services was running on remote.companyname.com.
Yeah, and actually the funnier thing was we had broken this assessment into multiple phases, and so we found this during the recon phase, and there were still like 5 other phases, and it's like, well, we've already won, and we were just doing recon.
We spent the rest of that pen test, I think it was like another 32. Actually, we found this in like an hour, so we spent the other 39 hours pretty much just pillaging their internal network and stealing everything. So that was fun. I think we're pretty close to being done. We have 1 more minute. I'll just say that I have used this, story 3, bug bounties. I have used this tool extremely easily, as you guys just saw with eBay and PayPal. This makes your attack surface and your targets for any Anywhere that's allowing you to do *.domain.com, this is insane. Facebook, Google, they all have bug bounties. This is extremely useful. It's easy to get things very quickly. I've popped AT&T, Netflix, not Google with this, and a couple other ones just using this tool. And I know we talked a lot about red team stuff here, you know, the offensive side, but I'm almost positive, I'm actually 100% positive that you defense people, you blue team people will find this tool useful. It is free. When we've been giving this to our clients just as an added bonus for fun at the end of all of our engagements. The output is pretty big when you run it on an internal network. It is around 80 gigs of pictures. Maybe
It's like
no,
900 megs. Maybe.
was it megs or gigs? I forget.
Like 900 megs.
Was it? All right. Well,
On a
maybe
big-
not that big. 80 gigs, Jesus. Yeah. So we've been giving this to our clients, and they've absolutely loved it. They've found it extremely useful. They're like, "What the hell is that?" Which is what it's supposed to do, right? So they now knew about it and knew about all the instances of it. So that's it. Yeah, cheat sheet. We'll release these slides. Actually, if anybody wants them, you know, ping me and we'll throw them up on GitHub or something. That's the cheat sheet usage. That's the mass HTTP script, if anybody wants to take pictures of it. But again, I will be releasing it. It's a shell script with 10 lines and 5 lines, something like that. So, you know, pretty easy. There's the code. Take a picture of that, or just remember Brain Machine. It's called httpscreenshot. Pull it. Big thing here, if anybody, you know, has issues getting it up and running, it's very easy to do on Ubuntu. I made sure to do it from a fresh VM and have the instructions there on how to do it. If you guys have problems, please come find us at the conference, or feel free to ping us. We would like to help you and make sure we have instructions for other people.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, the code's not the nicest thing in the world, and it uses like a bunch of crappy libraries and stuff. So, well, maybe like 5 or 6. So you have to install them. Apt-Get. They're all in the Ubuntu repos, so it's not that hard. But
Yay, no more. .configure make. Yeah, anyway. So, that's it.